In this video, I am going to discuss Prevention of Food Adulteration Act 1954. Definitely, this act is a social and beneficial legislation because this act has been introduced to check the persons, the corrupt, the traders, so that and to protect the interest of the general public or the customers, so that their health will be maintained in proper manner. So it is definitely a benevolent legislation enacted under this Prevention of Food Adulteration Act 54 Act. So here we have to discuss certain 2 or 3 important definitions so as to discuss the entire act. First of all, there are certain words. First is called adulterant. That means any material that is used for adulteration. That means any component of material which is used or some other material for doing adulteration of the food article, that is called adulterant. It is defined under section 2 of this act. Then another thing, what is called adulterate, adulterated. That means any particle contains any poisonous material or any ingredient which renders injurious to health. That means injurious to health is of very prime importance under this statute. That means anything by which anybody will suffer or any injury will cause to that man, that type of material is called adulterated. So, 2 important aspects of law, injurious to health and unfit for human consumption, shall be taken into consideration, and the entire act is giving emphasis on these 2 words, unfit for human consumption and injurious to health. So, these are 2 important definitions under this section, section 2. And another definition, that is called food. What is called food? Food means any article used as food or drink or for human consumption. Anything that is used by human body, that means for consumption purpose or for any drink or anything, whether the food is a primary or secondary food. So all these are categorized under definition of the term food. So these 3 important was adulterant, adulterated articles and food. These are 3 important definitions we will discuss in our entire act. Then now let us say another important thing is that misbranded. That means any article of food shall be deemed to be called as a misbranded if it resembles another food, or if it is a sealed article, it is contravening the label thereof of another article, then it is called misbranded. That means suppose some material or some food is in a sealed condition and the brand and some label is given in the name of another brand. So in that case, it has been adulterated and it will be called a misbranded. In many packaged seal materials, sometimes the lesser amount of materials are there in that, or some proper materials are not given, and all the statutory information like date of this manufacture, date of expiry, what is the net weight. If all these things are not mentioned properly, it is a violation and it is categorized as misbranded. For that also penal provision is there, and all these things are punishable under this act. So these are some of the important definitions under this act. Now we will discuss the important aspect of this act relating to, that is called section 5, prohibition of important certain articles of food. That means no person shall import any article of food that is misbranded or adulterated food, any article of food which is in contravention of any provision of law. That means a person is prohibited under law to use any misbranded food or any food that is adulterated in nature. That means something is added in that. So it is not having the pure, it is having no the purity, and something is added, that will be called adulterated. So all these are certain prohibitions are given under section 5 of the Act. That means no person is authorized to import or sell or possess any sort of article of food, and provided that article of food must be used for human consumption. If some article of food is kept in a shop, for example, some article is kept, but that is not meant for human consumption, it is for animal consumption. So at that time this Food Adulteration Act will not come into operation. So the prime emphasis must be given to the traders that whatever they are storing in the article must be meant for human consumption. Then only this act will come into operation. This is called section 5. Certain prohibitions are given under this act. Now we will discuss appointment of food inspector to maintain this purity of foods. certain inspectors are appointed by the government under the notification of central government. Those inspectors are called food inspectors, and they are appointed under section 9 of this provision. The central government, by notification in the official gazette, who is having prescribed qualification, shall be appointed as a food inspector. Their job is to inspect the foods, to take sample of the foods, and to initiate prosecution if there is any contravention or violation of the act by any of the person who is selling materials as a trader. So they are appointed by the governments and sometimes also by central government under special notification that is given under section 9 of the act. And their main job is emphasized on taking samples, periodical checkup of the different stores, and whether the standards, whatever the some materials they are preparing or supplying, whether that is conforming to the standard of the statute or not, everything that will be categorized by, and that is the job of this food inspector given under section 9 of this act. Now let us come to the another important provisions of law relating to this section 13. Report of public analyst. Public analyst shall deliver a copy of the report to the local authority CDMO for the result of the analysis. Once a sample is taken by the food inspector, that will be sent to the laboratory. Regional laboratories are there, central laboratories are also there. 4 central laboratories are also located in different parts of the country, and some regional laboratories are also there. In those cases, any sample that is taken by the food inspector, who is appointed under section 9, he shall send the sample to the laboratory for checkup or for verification whether the sample taken, whether it is conforming to the standard under this act. So suppose a material is sent to the laboratory for verification or for analysis, and whatever the analysis report that will come, a copy of the same will be sent to the CDMO, and the CDMO, who is the principal officer of that district and under this act, and he shall serve a copy of the same to the person from whom the sample was taken by registered post, and so that a reasonable opportunity shall be given to the party to send his material to the central laboratory for further verification if any contravention is found out. So this is another provision given under section 13. And there is an important provision under 13 subclause 2. Once a report has been received by the CDMO, it is the duty of CDMO's Chief District Medical Officer to supply a copy of the report within 15 days from the date of receipt. And if this is there is, and this provision is it is mandatory provision, and if there is any deviation from this, definitely the case of the prosecution shall be vitiated and benefits shall be extended to accused. So under section 13 subclause 2, a copy of the report shall be supplied by a Chief District Medical Officer to the person from whom sample was taken by the food inspectors. That is coming under section 13 subclause 2 of the act. Now let us come to very important provision that is called penalty provision, that is emphasized, that is given under section 16 of the CAT of this act. That means whatever the punishment that is prescribed under this act, that will be penal provision that is given under this section 16. That means there shall not be loss less than 6 months, and it may extend up to 3 years and fine. That means any contravention, or if a person is found to be guilty after adjudication of the case or after trial of the case, the minimum punishment is prescribed is 6 months of imprisonment, and it may go up to 3 years, and some fine is also may be imposed. So these are the provision relating to penalty provision under section 16. That means anybody who prevents any person authorized under law, just like food inspector, to inspect or to take sample, he will also penalize under this act. So any person who is preventing officer or any article taken by food is found to be adulterous. So these two aspects will be taken into consideration. The prevention, that means it found to be adulterated, that is one thing punishable. And second aspect, if any person who is restraining the food inspector to take sample, he will be also punishable under this section. So the penal provision given under section 16 of this act, that is because the law is very strict, the strict compliance of all the mandatory provisions must be followed. Any deviation from this mandatory provision, then definitely the case of the prosecution shall be vitiated and the benefit shall be given to the accused person. The section 13(2) plays a very vital role. Many case laws, many decisions are given by different high courts and supreme courts in relation to supply of a copy of this chief district medical officer report which he has received from the state laboratory. So whatever laboratory report or this analysis report that will be submitted to the CDMO, immediately he shall furnish a copy of the same to the person from whom the sample was taken. So as because this is a mandatory provision, any infraction thereof or any deviation thereof, it will definitely give a benefit to the accused, and if there is any sort of deviation, definitely the case of the prosecution shall be loosened and the case will be vitiated and all the benefit that will be given to the accused from whom sample was taken. So these are some of the important provision. Now let us discuss another very important provision, section 16A. Under this statute, all the procedures that is to be followed by these courts, that is called summary procedure. The entire act is guided under summary procedure of trial. Different procedures of trials are there. So here the procedure, simple procedure, the simple method of procedure, that is called summary method. So the method that is adopted under summary procedure of law, that will be followed under the file adjudicating a case under this act, the prevention of food adulteration. So this is specifically given under this section 16A of the act. Then coming to section 17, that is relating to offences by companies. Suppose some company has committed any offence and relating to the packaging or misbranding case or any defect in the manufacturing, so company will be responsible. As because company is an artificial person and artificial personality is attributed to company, so any person who is directly responsible to the affairs of the company and anybody who is involved in day-to-day business of the company shall be held responsible under this section 17 of this act. So any offence committed by the company will be represented by any person who is in charge of the company or any person who is responsible to the day-to-day affairs of the company shall be fastened with liability under this act, and he will be made an accused, so that the company will be made an accused. Subsequently, the any person who is in charge, he will be also made an accused. And suppose a sample is taken from a trader or any stockist or retailer, at that time the retailer or stockist will be also made an accused. So all these persons will face their trial jointly in this case. So this section 17 stipulates to all the offences made by the companies that is punishable under this act. Now let us come to the last portion, that is called section 20, cognizance and trial of offences. All the cognizance and trial offences must be taken up with a previous sanction. That means a consent from the government must have been taken prior to taking cognizance. If consent paper is not there, or the sanction that is otherwise called sanction, if there is no sanction, the magistrate cannot take cognizance under section 16 of this act, under this prevention of food adulteration. So this sanction is a condition precedent for initiating a case and for taking cognizance by the court. Once the sanction order is there, and then many other things will be there. In case of sanction, the court will also peruse whether that sanction has been accorded in due conformity with law after perusal of all the papers submitted by the food inspector which he has seized at the time of taking sample. All the things will be compliant, and there must be a judicious order while according a sanction. So the sanction order also plays a very vital role in adjudicating a case under this act. If the sanction is made voluntarily and without any documents, and if there is no proper use of judicial mind into the according sanction by the sanctioning authority, then the entire case shall be vitiated. So section 20 plays a very vital role for adjudicating cases under this act. So sanctions should be made properly and in consonance with law. So section 20 also plays a very vital role. So section 16 relates to penal provision, section 17 related to offences by the companies, section 20 regarding to sanction, and very important aspect of this law is section 13 subclause 2. That means the accused must be given reasonable opportunity to defend his case. What is the purpose of sending a sample by the CDM to the accused from whom the sample was taken, so that if a intimation will be given to him, so that he will be aware that whatever sample was taken from him, it was found to be adulterated by the laboratory, by the state laboratory, so that a reasonable opportunity time period is given. Within that stipulated time, he has to apply to the court, so that whatever the sample that is returned by the chief district medical officer, which was supplied to him by the food inspector, that will be sent to the central laboratory for confirmation. Suppose sometimes the report of the state laboratory is found to be adulterated, and in the central laboratory it was found to be not adulterated, then definitely the benefit will be given to the accused and the case will be dropped against the accused. So that's why these sections are very important under this statute. So these are all the details in case or relating to law relating to prevention of food adulteration. As because it is a socio-economic offense and the legislation is a very benevolent legislation nowadays, due to this misbranding of different types of food articles, many things are happening. That's why definitely it is a very welcome legislation, and all the benefits, it is only sole intention of this legislation to give benefit to the people, those who are consuming foods and those who are purchasing foods for their own daily use. So these are in details of this entire Prevention of Food Adulteration Act with all the important provisions.